What's going on? And why is this all blue like this? That's because I have the overlay on. Good morning, everyone. How's everyone doing out there in Final Cut Pro land? Has anybody seen Final Cut Pro 10.7? They said later this month, didn't they? They said later this month. Well, it's later than it was when they announced it. Now, we saw Final Cut Pro 10.7. Those of us who went to the Final Cut Pro Creator Summit, we saw Final Cut Pro 10.7. So it certainly, absolutely does exist. And we saw it in action. They had it in the demo room. So we couldn't play with it ourselves, but they would let us. They would let us see it. Hey, Richard, I'm in Jamaica waiting for 10.7. Here's our good friend, and here's our friend Yari Innanen. He's been around. I've known Yari for years. I met him at NAB. I think it's the last time I met him, right? I think it was, right, Yari? I think it was. Morning, nope. Still waiting for it to drop. Yeah, I know. I was checking all last week. Just in case. Now, I posted online, now's a good time. Is it going to come out today? No, I doubt it. I don't even remember one time that Final Cut Update came out on a weekend, a Saturday or a Sunday. And that was at NAB when they had Final Cut Pro 4.5 HD, not 10.4. But 4.5, they announced it on a Sunday night because NAB was starting on Monday morning. So I would be it's not impossible, but I'd be very surprised if it came out over the weekend. Very surprised. So normally, well, first off, back up your version of Final Cut Pro. Right now is a good time. Make a backup copy. If you belong to our Facebook group, facebook.com/group/Final Cut Radio TV, I've posted an article on there about how to back up your version of Final Cut. But basically you do this. Here's what I do. I create a separate folder in the applications folder. I call it Final Cut Pro Legacy. And I'll drag a copy into that Final Cut Pro Legacy folder. Apple recommends that you also zip it. I've zipped some copies I just leave natively. Sometimes I have both versions. But I keep them in a separate folder in the applications folder. It's like a legacy folder. That's amazing that you know how many times it's dropped on a weekend. I like statistics when it comes to Final Cut. I follow them very, very closely. Rogerio says, good morning. Absolutely, good morning. Do you think Final Cut Pro 10.7 will require Mac OS Sonoma? No, I do not. I think maybe a feature or two might require Mac OS Sonoma, but I would doubt that it actually requires that. Don't forget to back up the libraries because I'm sure it will be updated with 10.7. So here's one of the exact reasons that I keep my media external from my library. Backing up a library, if you have hundreds of gigabytes of video inside that library, internal, it's a pain. It's a real pain. I keep my media external. So the library that I have is very small, megabytes typically. So it's easy to back up the library. If you keep your media inside the library, it can be a pain because it's going to be hundreds of gigabytes sometimes. I have projects that are 1.5 terabytes. I'm not going to back that library up with all that media inside of it. I'm going to put the media outside, back up the library. It's a small little file. Now, people say, well, yeah, but I can just back up the library by dragging it to another hard drive. So can I, because I have a master folder for each project. And inside of the master folder is all 100% of my media and the Final Cut Pro library inside that master folder. So I can just take that master folder and drag it to a hard drive, just like you can with a library. Anyway, that's what I do. Some people prefer keeping it inside the library. I don't, except for like a small little social media posts. I mean, libraries, I don't care about those. So we had a phenomenal time at the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. It was one of the best, if not the best, Final Cut Pro Summit I've ever been to. Every summit has, good points and bad points. So the hotel we stayed at, the Aloft, was really cool, but there's a 1 mile distance between where we were staying and where the presentations were. So you had to navigate that 1 mile all the time. So when we stayed at the Juniper, everything's in one location. You don't have that mile situation. The other thing is the food choices around there were not that. You can eat food at the hotel, but there weren't that many places you could get food locally at the hotel. So this is a good question. I've seen it before. Does the scrolling timeline feature need Apple Silicon? I have a MacBook Pro M1 Max, but I still have my iMac Pro, so I hope this is not the case using the iMac Pro. I would imagine that the scrolling timeline is going to run on Intel, but not as good as the Apple Silicon Max. And the reason for it is they didn't release the scrolling timeline when there was only Intel machines. So I don't know if that's a Mac OS thing or a Final Cut Pro thing or the Intel thing. I would imagine the fact that they waited this long to release the scrolling timeline, they've had it for a long time, is because Apple Silicon is so efficient. And I would be surprised if the scrolling timeline does not work on Intel. Maybe slower. Maybe there'll be some options. And, well, there'll be an option to turn it off if you don't want it, of course. So I'd be surprised. We didn't address that specifically. I want to thank you all for tuning in today. We got a lot to talk about. We're going to talk about Final Cut Pro 10.7 as much as we know. And we're also going to talk about, I have some more clips exclusive for you, exclusive clips that I shot from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Now, let me just show you this real quick. Let me show you this. This is what I've shot. Let me turn my cams on. Let me turn this on a little bit bigger. There we go. This is what I shot from the Creative Summit. 1.5 terabytes of data. I shot in 4 days. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. A little bit on Thursday, too. Over 1.5 terabytes of data from one event. Do you think I'm going to keep that inside of a library? No way. No way. I keep it external. I have a master folder. It's called Final Cut Pro Summit 2023. Inside the master folder, I have video, pics, audio, etc. folders. I have an iPhone folder. I have a Lumix S5 2 Mark X folder. I have my cards 1 and 2, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. They're organized inside the Finder. Inside that master folder also is my Final Cut Pro Creative Summit 2023 library. So we have some more questions. Making all those that have Intel chips want to upgrade. Well, the thing is that the version that you have now will continue to work. The Mac OS version and the version of Final Cut will continue to work. I have an old original Mac Pro cheese grater downstairs that still runs my recording studio when I need it. I have a 24 in and out interface that hooks up to that. They don't make the drivers for it anymore, et cetera, et cetera. So when I need to run that, I got to capture 24 tracks off an old tape, for example, I use that system. It still works. I'm not going to update it. It works well. Bruce Babcock Jr., good morning, Bruce. I met Bruce at the Creative Summit, and Bruce was very generous and bought me some coffees on buymeacoffee.com. As a matter of fact, we had a lot of people that bought me coffees on buymeacoffee.com. And I just want to, let's go over there real quick. We'll go over there right now and look at them, thank them. So here we are. Let me pull this out of the way. We don't need that there. Pull that out of the way. This is the people that bought me coffees. I'm just going to show some of them. Matthew Pate. Thank you, Matthew. Somebody anonymously. Spencer Lewis bought a coffee. Kevin F. bought a coffee. Eric Emmerich bought a coffee. Someone bought 4 coffees. I'm not sure who that was. Jeff, I think, that bought those. Jason Mark Williams bought a coffee. Coffees, Thomas Collins. Someone bought a coffee. So these are the people that supported me when I went to Final Cut Pro. To the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, and I appreciate it. It's like a little extra bonus that I get. Just an extra little thank you. And I appreciate each and every one of you. I had some good coffees there, and I had some meals, and I paid for Ubers and everything else. I had really good breakfast there at the place we were going. Richard, I know you're ecstatic about it. Can you explain why the scrolling timeline is such an important feature? How's it going to change our editing? Do you like the playhead scrolling off the screen? Do you prefer that the playhead scrolls off the screen while you're editing, and you don't even know where it is when you're editing, when the play things are running? Is that what you prefer? I don't. I want the playhead centered right here, and everything's scrolling underneath of it. I'm not the only one. And the Final Cut Pro team agreed, because this feature has been in Final Cut Pro for a long time. They're just waiting for things to catch up so they can do the live waveform redrawing. Number one, Avid has one. Premiere has one. DaVinci Resolve has one in the cut page, and it has a paging option in the edit page, which means the playhead goes to the end and then jumps to the beginning. It never goes off the screen the way that Final Cut Pro has done for 15, 20 years. It just disappears off the side of the screen. It doesn't make any sense. That never made any sense to me. Logic has 2 scrolling timelines, and Motion has a scrolling timeline. Now, all of those pro apps, all the different companies have had a scrolling timeline for years. You think nobody uses that? Of course they do. I won't even edit in Final Cut with long form audio stuff because it didn't have a scrolling timeline. I was constantly doing this to see where my waveform was. Yes, I know you can press the button and it stops and it jumps, but why does it leave the screen to begin with? Well, we don't have to worry about it anymore in 10.7. It's here. If you don't want to use it, you can turn it off. I use it because I want to see the clip that I'm editing at all times in the center, and I use waveforms a lot. I'm not looking at this scrolling timeline all the time. I'm looking at the viewer, but when I'm editing waveforms, I certainly am looking at the waveforms constantly. I can pick up ums and ahs. I can see where the playhead's going to cut the video, et cetera, et cetera. There's lots of reasons. It was one of their top requests all these years. It's been on my top list since Final Cut Pro version 5, not 10.5, since Final Cut Pro version 5. Did you shoot in ProRes at all? I most certainly did. I shot ProRes log with my iPhone 15 Pro Max. Let's go watch a video. This is a friend that I met at Creative Summit, Jen Jager, and watch what we have here. Let's turn this on. Sound effects, don't need that. Let's turn that off. I think this is going to be a movie, but it might be, yeah, I think this is it. You're being filmed in ProRes Log. This is the first time?
This is the first time.
There you go.
What an amazing moment. Thank you.
It absolutely is an
Thank you
amazing
for
moment.
capturing this moment.
Oh, absolutely.
Amazing.
So there I filmed Jen Jager for the first time she was filmed in ProRes Log. I absolutely did. Not all the time, because I didn't need it all the time. Some of the stuff I've recorded, I have, as a matter of fact, I'll show this in a little bit. I have a setup that I have with my hard drives. I record the hard drives in Final Cut Pro. Excuse me, with my iPhone 15 Pro Max. I have a 4 terabyte SSD. It's a tiny little thing. I'll show it to you in a minute. And I ordered a second one because I like it so much. So now I have 8 terabytes I can record. Dennis Jones says, don't forget to hit the like and subscribe. Absolutely. I've been getting a lot more subscriptions recently. And likes as well. Got lots of thumbs up today. Thank you very much. Bruce Babcock says, I bought you 4, but labeled me as somebody. Thanks, Bruce. I appreciate it. I really appreciate it. Stephen Doyle says, hi, Richard. I had a scrolling timeline back when I had a Media 100 system before Final Cut Pro. Exactly. It's an industry standard. It's an industry standard that finally has come to Final Cut Pro. Finally, Final Cut Pro 10 has a scrolling timeline. If you don't want to use it, turn it off. That's all. Simple as that. I've been waiting for a long time, Apple is famous for good usability approach. Scrolling timeline puts Final Cut Pro in right trail again. Absolutely does. Jen Jager makes great content on Apple Motion. Absolutely. I had a good time. So I met some people. One of the things that this creative summit had a renewed energy for Final Cut Pro. Multiple reasons. Number one, we had a lot of young people like Jen that were there. We had the Final Cut Bro. Now, I've known him for a year and a half. I met him a year and a half ago at NAB. I was leaving the convention center, and two Dylans, Dylan Johns and Dylan Bates, called out to me and said, hey, Richard Taylor, we saw you online, et cetera, and we went over and talked. And we've been friends ever since then. So there's a lot of reasons. Number one, we got Final Cut Pro 10.7, because in 2019, we didn't get any update. So we got Final Cut Pro 10.7. We, attendees of the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, got Final Cut Pro 10.7 before anybody else in the world did. Not the beta team, obviously, but the world. It was the announcement of 10.7 was held off until we, the attendees of the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, got to see it in action. Logic came out 2 hours earlier than that, Logic Pro 10.8 on the Apple website. But Final Cut Pro 10.7 did not come out on the Apple website until we, the attendees of the summit, got to see it in person, got the whole demonstration. Then it was released on the Apple website. Let me just check on something here. Wait a minute, what's that? Yeah, that's good. It's been really nice the last couple of weeks to have a feeling of optimism and excitement back in the Final Cut Pro community. I think more cool things are coming with Vision Pro. Yes, Vision Pro is has a limited audience. Not everybody's going to buy $3,500 goggles for Final Cut Pro. I'm not really interested in Vision Pro, but I'm excited for those of you that want it. I'm not a Final Cut Pro curmudgeon like some people. Oh, I don't want that feature. I don't want anybody to have that feature. No, I'm not like that. Vision Pro is fine for those that want it. I personally don't want it, so I think, here's what I've said. Final Cut Pro 10.7 is the beginning of the Final Cut Pro 10.7 era. It's not the middle. It's not the end. It's the very beginning. It's Final Cut Pro 10.7.0. We will certainly be getting more features as that era continues. For the next year, for the next 2 years, Final Cut Pro 10.7 will be adding features. They're not going to stop adding features, just added the ones they added. They're going to keep on adding features. This is the beginning of Final Cut Pro 10.7 era. The beginning. Very beginning. I would love a magnified window of the waveform I'm working on when editing audio. That's one of the things I have on my list. I have that ability to add a magnified window. That's interesting that you said that. I have a list with a lot of features I'd like to see in Final Cut Pro 10.7. While I got your attention, well, let's go watch this again. Let's go see, let me see something here. So this is, well, let's go here. Speaking of scrolling timeline, this was the Expo, Final Cut Pro Expo, in my interview with Mark Spencer. So when I went live, people were coming around the setup that I had to be on the live stream. Mark was one of those, and Steve Martin was one, and some other people. Brad was there. Scrolling timeline. I was shocked when I saw that icon yesterday. The
scrolling timeline. No, I saw you. I was sitting a few rows behind you, and you did this hallelujah thing.
Like, give me some credit here. So that was Mark's. When Mark came over, Steve Martin came on first. We'll put him on in a minute. So here we go. Have you tried the beta for 17.2 to try spatial video recording it, or will you check it out when the final 17.2 drops? I don't have anything that I can watch it. Can you watch it in Final Cut? Perhaps I might. I mean, if it's a new feature, yes. Good morning. Can you edit ProRes on Luma Fusion? Absolutely, for years. You mean ProRes Log? You mean ProRes Log? They just added that feature to Luma Fusion. Let me see if it's over here. Here we go. Luma Fusion 14.2, 4.1.1. Luma Fusion 4.1.1, let me just pull this up. Direct SSD editing on iPhone 15 and Apple Log iOS. So those are not available in, where is that video? Why is this not loading? It's interesting.
Luma Fusion 4.1.1 for iOS is here. This is really going to be of interest if the new iPhone 15 Pro models are on your radar. Let me show you why. First, you can record video directly to an external SSD. That opens up some great new workflows. But what we're really excited about, drum roll, Luma Fusion is the only mobile editing app that can edit directly from that SSD connected to an iPhone 15 Pro.
So Luma Fusion, once again, is ahead of the curve on iOS editing. You can edit, if you have a 15 Pro or Pro Max, you can edit directly from the SSD. And it now supports Apple Log. And you can add a LUT, etc., etc., etc. I love Luma Fusion. I've been using it for years, hoping for ProRes RAW recording to come out for the next iPhone. Well, we'll have to see how that works. I'm not that clear if an iPhone, I mean, what would be the sense of an iPhone sensor that, since it's so small, to get the RAW version of that? We'll have to see. I'm a big fan of Apple ProRes Log, though. It is just superb quality coming out of a phone. It's really changed that in the SSD, I mean, the USB-C port. Absolutely. Luma Fusion is the head of Final Cut Pro on iOS. Well, Final Cut Pro on iOS is just version 1. Luma Fusion is up to version 4. Luma Fusion records on an iPhone. Final Cut Pro does not record on an iPhone. You can't use it on an iPhone. Not record, but you can't edit on an iPhone. Luma Fusion's on Android. Luma Fusion's on Chromebooks. Luma Fusion's on the Mac. Did you know you can run Luma Fusion on an M1 Mac? One price, and it runs on the iPad, of course. Even older iPads than Final Cut Pro runs on. Now it's time for external SSD editing for Final Cut Pro for iPad. The summit left me wanting to try Final Cut Pro for iPad more. I agree. When you have somebody that really knows their way around Final Cut Pro on the iPad and they demonstrate it on one of those giant iPads, I don't have the giant Pro iPad, I have a much smaller one. It's pretty impressive. Final Cut for iPad is impressive. Here's what I like about it. You can rent it for $4.99 a month and then not rent it for a couple of months or a month. You don't have to rent it continuously. Yeah, you get a price if you buy it by the year, rent it by the year. You are renting it, by the way. If you stop paying, the app stops working. That's one of the objections that I don't like about subscription models. The companies that do subscriptions and allow the current version that you have, if you stop paying the subscription, you can keep the current version. That's fine. That works for me. I have multiple versions of that, of apps that do that. So that's fine. But the ones that say, okay, if you don't pay, you can't use the app. I don't like that. Apple's one of those with iPad for Final Cut Pro on the iPad. But the idea is you can edit for a month and then stop for 1 month or 2 months and then come back and edit again. It's super easy to quit subscriptions on iOS. You just go to the iPhone. All your subscriptions are listed. You can if you subscribe for a month and you're afraid you're going to forget to unsubscribe at the end of the month, you can unsubscribe immediately and you will automatically get your month and you don't have to worry about it because it will unsubscribe you at the end of the month. Our friend Tim says, good morning from Oregon. Amazing what perfect timing Luma Fusion update 14.411. I have to admit, Luma Fusion, my favorite editor. Thank you. You're absolutely welcome. Well, I at some point, if I get a new iPad, one of those iPad Pros, things are gigantic. I really like that. I mean, I think I'd be more apt. It looks really cool, and I understand that, people, if you've been brought up on touch, you'd like to do the see Final Cut on the iPad. It's not as powerful as Final Cut on the MacBook Pro. It's not. It's missing a lot of features that I want. Doesn't have a scrolling timeline. They put it on the Mac, but it's not on the Final Cut for iPad yet. So I'm just telling you that's one of the features that it doesn't have. There's 40 more that my MacBook has. Well, one, maybe 39 because they added a voiceover. And it's really cool. Final Cut on the iPad is very, very cool. I really, really like it. There's a awards. Apple has awards for iPad apps, and DaVinci Resolve has been nominated for the best iPad app of the year with two other apps. Let's give Blackmagic credit once again about that. Now, something else. When we had a Q&A with the Final Cut Pro team, they gave a compliment to Resolve. They said something to the effect of, it's a great app, we really like it, something, or I really like it, whoever the person was. I'm not going to call out who it was. But they gave a compliment to DaVinci Resolve from the Final Cut Pro team Q&A, which I thought was really good, really cool. Being able to change the white balance ISO setting in post is awesome with ProRes RAW in a non-destructive fashion. Very cool. 16-bit color allows for much more creativity to push a color grade. Do you think, I don't know, 16-bit color on an iPhone, that seems like it's pushing things a little bit. The reason you can use, I have my iPhone 15 here, the reason, let me pull this off. The reason that you can use a SSD with this, because this has a USB SSD controller, and it has the A17 chip or A16 chip, whatever the latest is, and that's why you can edit off an SSD directly with the iPhone 15. I don't know what the iPad has. Does it have a USB controller? I guess it does. I guess it does. Let's go over and watch another movie. We had our friend Mark. Just check something here. Let's go to another movie real quick. Here we got Steve. Steve was the first one to, so I went live here, and Steve was waiting to come on the live stream, as you'll see. It's very loud in here. I'm not sure if anybody can even hear me. I'm going to walk around and do some interviews the best we can with my iPhone 15 Pro Max. We're live. What'd you think about the Creative Summit?
I think it's been a really great Creative Summit. A lot of energy.
It is.
More energy than I felt for a while, and I feel like this is like the biggest one in terms of sheer numbers of people.
The Final Cut Pro team yesterday seemed very energized and very exuberant,
Yeah.
to say the least. And this whole crowd, I think, is as well.
Yeah, and I've been monitoring Twitter/X, and I noticed there's a lot of hashtags about this event going out. Lots of them.
Yes.
And I think that's good because that it's showing people that there's a very vibrant, passionate community of Final Cut Pro users. A lot of good energy, a lot of fun.
Absolutely. So that was Steve. That was Steve Martin. He was waiting for the live stream to start. Him and Mark were both waiting right there. Whenever I do a live event like that, if you're around and you see me filming or streaming live, if you want to get on the live stream, come on up. Just say, hey, I want to get on the live stream, and I'll get you on. Thanks for the thumbs up. You people are fantastic. My audience is the best audience. ProRes RAW is the same file size as regular ProRes. No, I realize the size is the same, but editing 16-bit is different than editing 10-bit. There's a difference there. It takes more horsepower to edit the 16-bit. It's not the file size, it's the bit depth. Luma Fusion, the one right now, because I cannot use Final Cut Pro iPad. I can't either. I play around with it on my other iPad. I really like the touch interface of Final Cut Pro for iPad. I do too. The more I get exposed to it, the more I like it. But I'm not going to buy an iPad to run a version of Final Cut Pro that doesn't have 40 features that my version on the MacBook Pro has. It's a step down from the Mac for desktop version. Now, here's the thing. If you can't afford $299 for Final Cut, or for education, it's $199. You get Logic Pro, you get Final Cut Pro, you get Compressor, you get Motion, and you get Soundstage for $199 if you're a student. That's the way to go. Now, if you can't afford that, then but you can afford an iPad. You have to have a current iPad for a current one. $499 is a great entry point to get into Final Cut Pro, and it's really cool. Final Cut Pro on the iPad is very, very cool. No ifs, ands, and buts about it. So I've been talking about editing on my iPhone. This is my gimbal. My iPhone would sit up here. This is a 4 terabyte SSD. Okay, it hooks into this little dock here, and I can hook in the microphone into it, and I can power this dock. I can power the iPhone right there. This little setup, this is the most condensed version of the SSD, Pro Audio, a dock. and you can power. So I can run both Pro Audio and record to SSD on my iPhone 15 Pro Max with this setup. I have a video to show what I built. But one of the cool things about this is this. Let me show you this. This whole setup that I have on this, I have it on the gimbal because I like the gimbal rather than just a comes off. It comes off in one piece. Come on, get off there. So this whole setup that I have comes off and can be used with different iPhone setups. It just requires a cold shoe and the ability to, let me pull this one over here, the ability to mount a cold shoe unobtrusively. So for example, this is a brand new dock for the iPhone 15 Pro Max, and look, it just slides right on there. Tighten it up. Boom, done. So the whole setup that I have can be transferred from one to the other. I've seen some monstrosities out there with cables, everything, and all kinds of stuff, and I still have room. I have quarter 20s here. I have cold shoe over here. This is the new small rig cage for the iPhone 15 Pro Max. Now, there's a couple of things I really like about this. Number one is it has quick detach handles. I can just quickly detach. You don't got to screw them in. They clip on. They're very secure. You can mount it here. You can mount it up here. You can mount it over here. If you want to do vertical video, you can mount it here on the bottom or on the other side. You can put two of them on if you want it. So I really like the quick handles a lot on this cage. Just came out. And as you can see, I can run the SSD, Pro Audio, and I can power this through the Belkin 4-in-1 port. The Belkin 4-in-1 port is my favorite one because it's USB 3.2 Gen 2. It's very, very fast. I use the Crucial X9 Pro 4 terabyte SSD. I like it so much I got a second one coming tomorrow. Let me show you one of the other things I really like about this cage setup. Let me pull the handle off. On the top here, it has a physical Bluetooth button that stops and starts recording. A physical Bluetooth button that stops and starts recording. And you can take it off. You can take it off. So if I wanted to add this to my setup over here, I just take it off and put it there. And now I have a button right there with my gimbal to start and stop recording. These are my favorite two setups. This is the gimbal, which I use a lot of time, most of the time. I really like the gimbal setup. And if I wanted to use this setup, one of the reasons I got this cage, so it's a one handle. You can get a second handle, but I just like the one handle, and I'll balance it with my hand or my finger. One of the reasons I got this small rig cage, if you notice, it takes Moment M-mount lenses natively. Moment M-mount lenses, because I have a whole set of M-mount lenses. I'm not going to the T-series. I'm done buying lenses for my iPhone. But the fact that it had M-mounts for the Moment lenses built in to this cage, the fact that it has a removable handle, the fact that it has a Bluetooth, I can't see where it's going there, a Bluetooth setup button, I said, I'm going to go ahead and buy this, and I'll use it some of the time. I really, really like that. Let me see, got some comments here. I love higher frame rates and 4K resolution, 120 frames per second. Absolutely. Eric says he has a more compact setup rig. I like to see something that's more compact that does SSD, Pro Audio, and can be powered. Something more compact than that. I haven't seen anything. The data rates of ProRes RAW fall between those of ProRes 422 and ProRes 422 HQ. No, I understand the data rates. I'm talking about if you have a higher bit depth, takes more processing power. It's not the data rates, not the file size. It's the bit depth. I thought, maybe I'm incorrect. I thought the bit depth requires, the higher the bit depth, the more processing power it requires. That's what I thought. Maybe that's not correct. Okay. Now I'm sorry. I like your small rig setup. Might get one for Christmas. When you put iPhone in a small rig cage, it hurts. It would hurt, scratch your iPhone. Is that the Brandon Lee cage? Yes, it is the Brandon Lee cage. It's lined with rubber. So this cage. Oh, the other thing is you just snap it open and snap it closed. So this is all lined with rubber. So it doesn't scratch your phone. You can obviously put a battery pack to the back to charge it. Like I said, it takes L-mount lenses. You can use T-mount lenses and other lenses, but you get a plate for it. But it's really, really nice. So I don't like cages as much as I like my gimbal. I like the gimbal the best because it's balanced, because it has an extension rod. But the fact that I can use my Moment lenses, I have a whole set of them. I was going to sell them. Now I'll keep them because I can use them on the 1X lens. And I can record ProRes RAW, I get external microphones, etc. So I have those two setups depending on what I'm doing. If I want to shoot the Moment lens, the main thing in the Moment lens is anamorphic. That's the main thing that I want to keep the lenses for. The anamorphic lens on the 1X lens is fantastic. I don't need the zoom. I got the 1, 2, and 5. Can you repeat the SSD name and brand? By the way, should sponsor your channel. So thank you very much. As a matter of fact, I'm going to thank my sponsors for the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. Core Melt and Hedge, both of them sponsored me to go to the Creative Summit, as well as FMC. And a lot of you bought me coffees, and I really, really appreciate that. It's just something that I really appreciate. So the SSD, let me pull it out of here for you. I have the small rig. Small rig makes great stuff. Let me tell you something. They really quality stuff. I have the small rig SSD holder because it has a cable clamp. So let me pull that off there now, and I'll show you the SSD that I like. Come out of here. This is Crucial X9. Look how tiny this thing is. The Crucial X9 compared to the Samsung T7 Shield. Look at the difference. This is the Shield. This is the Crucial X9. This is 4 terabyte. This is 2 terabyte. But it's so tiny. I got a second one. Now, will it last forever? I don't know. I'm not saying it's going to last. I don't know. Will it crash? I don't know. I'm just saying for right now, what I've done, speed testing and stuff, it's my favorite drive. Crucial X9. They should sponsor. Nice, highly portable rig. Yes, it really is. Is lens faceplate good enough separation so once you touch your phone lens or accidentally scratch, then the phone was in the cage? I use sand-marked lenses with it. To be honest with you, I was kind of surprised, but I have a very thin lens protection on here on my iPhone, and I can put it inside the cage. So I can put it inside the cage, and it works with the lenses. Now, I realize I'm going through the original lens, the lens protector, and then I'm going through another lens. But I'm not shooting anything mission critical, so it isn't like I'm shooting a major motion picture film with it. But the main reason I want the Moment lenses is because, well, look at this. Trotting anamorphic lens with the rig. It's exactly why I wanted to use my existing Moment lenses, because of the anamorphic lens. That's the main thing. I don't need the other lenses because the iPhone has great lenses now. It has a 0.5, 5 times. It's ultra wide and stuff. I wanted it for the anamorphic shooting, which takes the whole sensor, squeezes it optically, and then expands it, so you're actually getting very, very high quality anamorphic settings. That's the reason I got this, was for the anamorphic. I already have the lenses. I was going to sell them. I'm not going to get a Moment case for this. I don't. It's like $40, $50. This was like 60 something. This is much better. I love the quick handle. I love the Bluetooth click button. Stop and start recording instead of touching the screen or touching the button on the bottom or whatever. And it's just a really nice setup. It just came out. It's really nice. So anyway, that's enough about that. Let's go back to another movie. Here's a little movie with our friend Gabriel Spalding. I caught up with him the last day over there at Pete's Coffee. So here we are at Final Cut Pro Creator Summit 2023. Apple announced Final Cut Pro 10.7 to us exclusively worldwide, then announced it to the rest of the world. So what did you think about the Apple presentation first? We were at Apple Park.
I was reassured. I mean, I'm a big die-hard Final Cut guy, but the last few years things have gotten a little bleak as far as the update cycle. None of the features that they announced are anything I specifically requested, but they're all going to be super useful. And we also got a glimpse and a hint of some other things. So I feel really optimistic right now.
And
it feels good to be a Final Cut user again.
Feels good to be a Final Cut user again. That's what Gabe said. So thank you very much for the thumbs up. I got a lot of thumbs up again. It's very much appreciated. So to answer your question, try to anamorphic lens with the rig. Yes, I already have the Moment M series anamorphic, and it works fine. They did a test between the T series and the M series. Moment did. And they showed you what lenses work. None of the lenses work on the 5X lens, the periscope lens. None of their lenses work on that. New ones don't, whatever. But you can use the anamorphic on the 1X lens. You can use the zoom on the 1X lens. I haven't tried the other ones. I have not tried the other ones yet, but I have a series of 4 or 5 Moment M-mount lenses that I've bought over the years for my 13 and 14. But I didn't want to buy a Moment case for the font because I'm not going to use it that much. But this case really intrigued me. Our friend Ben Bowser says, good morning. Absolutely. I was going to watch my favorite TV show called Sunday Morning, but glad I tuned in to get much out of watching your channel as my creative juices flowing that helps you stay in the creative flow. I've used the M series, recently got the T series wide. It's much heavier, bigger lens. I recommend Moment so much. Here's the thing, if you're going to use your iPhone and you want all the options, the T series lenses look really nice. I had no intentions of buying another series of lenses from Moment. No intention whatsoever. This rig is getting to the point where it's the size of my Lumix S5 Mark IIX. Okay? So at that point, I'm going to switch over to the Lumix. But since this cage has 3 things that I like. Number 1, it's quick release handle, which is brand new. Fantastic. Number 2 is the stop record button, Bluetooth button. And number 3 is I can put my existing Moment lenses on it. That's the reason I bought it. But the T series are much bigger. If I was starting new, if I only had my iPhone as my only camera, I would consider But the problem is the T-series don't work on the 5X lens. So you're limited to one lens. I don't know if they work on the 0.5, but they work on the 1X. They don't work on the T. None of those lenses work. I'm not going to spend hundreds of dollars on lenses from an iPhone, but I have the M series that I have. I'll use those. Apple should go ahead and buy Blackmagic, and we'll have the best of both worlds plus the cameras. Like I said, the Final Cut Pro team gave Blackmagic a compliment for DaVinci Resolve. Are you ever thinking of using the iPhone rigs with the full frame lenses? No, I'm not going to buy any more lenses for my iPhones. I got the Lumix S5 Mark II X, which is fantastic camera. Shoots 6K open gate. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. Shoots 6K open gate. It's full frame. I already got a set of lenses for it. I got 4 lenses for it. I got 3 primes, all of them f1.8. I got the 24 millimeter, 50 millimeter, and I got the 85 millimeter. And I got the 20 to 60 zoom for X when I'm outside with the density, neutral density filter, of course. I'm not going to be buying any new lenses for my iPhone. It's not what I need. If I need lenses between the iPhone and the Lumix S5 Mark II X, that's plenty for me. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. Very, very cool. Let's go. So we're having lunch. We had a lunch in this patio area. And I did some filming out there. I talked to people. I'm going to be releasing these clips as we go. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Pretty darn good.
Live or are you just shooting?
I go live in the mornings.
Okay.
Making clips. I'm not live right now.
Awesome. It's good.
I'm going to broadcast the Apple presentation live.
There you go.
Yeah.
Sneak it in.
I'll be thrown out. I did that one time. In 2017, I was Facebook live streaming from the Apple presentation at NAB when they announced 2 million.
So it's a very great pleasure for all of us at Apple today to be able to announce for the first time here in this meeting that we've now reached 2 million seats.
That's my video. Yeah. But that ain't going to happen today, I know.
What's the half of the sky for this afternoon?
Yeah, I do. I'm going to describe myself as you.
I'm not gonna let you anywhere in there.
Oh, no, that's not a good idea.
That's my friend Michael Roper, and of course my friend Dylan Bates, Final Cut Bro, the Final Cut Bro. I met him a couple years ago, year and a half ago at NAB. Michael Roper, I've met at multiple creative summits, and Michael is, being the generous person as he is, he bought me breakfast one morning, which was really, really nice. I've seen the iPhone hooked to an adapter with Canon lens. That's very interesting, but it's, once again, if I'm going to do that, well, I'm just going to use my S5 Mark II X if I want to get that involved. Now, if you don't have one, that's different. I would use the anamorphic only locked down on sticks because it gets a bit wobbly, even stabilized. Maybe the stabilizing algorithm just doesn't seem to like the lens. Yeah, but see, I understand, but look, this is my tripod. I have a tripod with a quick release plate, and I just mount it right there. So I can do that very, very easily. I love these Ulanzi quick releases. I have probably a dozen of these. I use them for everything. So if this was a tripod, it would be locked down, but I'd have my Moment lens, professional audio. So one of the things with the audio is I use the DJI mic system, so I can have 2 microphones, one on me, a lapel. And if I'm interviewing somebody specifically, I can put a lapel on them. If I'm not, I can just use a front-facing microphone. All kinds of options on that small setup. Have you seen the Larry Jordan updated article clarifying details of the new features in Final Cut Pro? I saw the original one. I have not seen the updated one. I'm not sure what they updated, but I will after this stream, I will look for it. So let's go over here. And I have Final Cut Pro 10.7 screenshots. This is one of the screenshots from Larry Jordan's article. There's some from Larry Jordan's article, and there's some from Apple. This is from Apple. Over there at fcpx.tv, we had a nice post-summit video with Bill Davis, Serena Catania, Brad Olson, and myself recently. What did he clarify, Ben? What did Larry Jordan clarify in the new article? Anything special? Thank you for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. Very appreciated. So anyway, I want to thank my sponsors, Core Melt and Hedge. It sponsored me from going to the Creative Summit. It's really appreciated. And like I said, all you did in FMC did a great job. They've supported me every time I've gone there. So fantastic. We had a great time. The enthusiasm for Final Cut Pro is renewed. Ben says he only saw it after it was labeled updated. So I'll check it out after the stream. Anything important, I'll come back on. Listen, 10.7 is coming out anytime. I kind of expect it would be out before Thanksgiving, so maybe next Tuesday. I think it might come out the Tuesday before Thanksgiving. That would be a guess from me. That would be a nice little present for us. It's ready because they've already shown it to us. And like I said, this is the beginning of 10.7. This is the beginning of the 10.7 era. So, what else do we have? 14 thumbs up. It's fantastic. Thank you very much. Let's go. Here, look at this. This is my backyard. This is my backyard. Now, the thing about it is, you can't really tell from all the leaves that are there. Let me just pull this up. It's ridiculous. Cam link. There we go. You can't really tell from all the leaves. There's a lot of leaves there. I have a lot of leaves. This is live. I have a camera set up in my back for my backyard. But the leaves are starting to come down, as you can see. And they're not starting. They're almost completely down at this point. They're almost completely down. I got work to do still. Let's go over here. This is iJustine, little snippet from hers.
The algorithm is actually your audience. And when he said that, I was like, no, I want to keep blaming the algorithm for why my views are bad and not, look back and take a look at the content, because I know the type of content that my viewers like. They love Apple content and they love tips and tricks. They love anytime I do anything with an iPhone. So no matter what, I know if I post a video about any of those specific things, they don't do well. I'm like, okay, that wasn't my fault. That was something in the algorithm. But really kind of finding that fine line between what your audience does like and what you like.
So iJustine announced, she has like 7 million, 7 million subscribers, over 1 billion views on her YouTube channel, over 1 billion. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is really, really appreciated. So I tried to record all the presenters, get a sample of their sessions. I tried to record, I think I caught everybody. Maybe not everybody, but I caught close. I got 80, 90%, at least 5 or 10 minutes. But I recorded iJustine's panel, her discussion in full. I recorded the tips and tricks session in full. I recorded the Storm Smith accessibility in Final Cut Pro and Apple in full. And there's one other one that I recorded in full. I see this question all the time. The scrolling timeline was demoed on Apple Silicon. I have an iMac Pro. Do you think that feature will work as seamless as on an upper Intel model? Once again, I think that the Apple Silicon is optimized. Everything's optimized. The Mac OS is optimized. Final Cut Pro is optimized. It's very powerful. So I don't think it's going to run as well as on an Intel machine. Maybe, but it might require Apple Silicon. I don't know. But you can always turn it off if it doesn't work properly for you. Then you have your old version. I would think it's probably going to run on Intel, the higher end Intels, but it might. We'll have to see. Look, Final Cut Pro is going to be out. 10.7 is going to be out within a couple of days, couple of weeks. With a couple of weeks for sure. By the way, I do have. Let me pull this over here. Let me just go over here real quick. Do this. I do have started a Final Cut Pro group specifically for Final Cut Pro 10.7 and going forward. Just so you know. Final Cut Pro 10.7. This group is specifically for Final Cut Pro 10.7. It is facebook.com/groups/Final Cut Pro 10.7. And right now it's open. We have almost 200 members. We just started it. And because I want to, sometimes the groups get too bogged down in things and stuff. I want this to be Final Cut Pro 10.7 going forward, not 10.3 and 10.4 and 10.5 and 10.6. 10.7. Now, if it's related, the questions are related to 10.7, exporting and stuff, that's fine. But I'm going to try to keep it centered on Final Cut Pro 10.7. If you have a scrolling timeline, you can join the group in Final Cut Pro. That's the criteria. If you have a scrolling timeline in Final Cut Pro, you can join the group. Anybody can join right now. I'm going to try to limit the questions. We'll see how well it goes. I don't want to go back into be an all-encompassing Final Cut Pro group because there's a dozen Final Cut Pro groups on Facebook. I belong to a dozen probably. So this is Final Cut Pro 10.7 specific. You can join right now. It's open. We'll see how it goes. Our friend Ernest White said, "Good coffee morning, Richard and all." Thank you, Ernest. It's appreciated. Man, we're getting lots of thumbs up. It's really appreciated. I really, really appreciate that. So did you like my reporting from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit? I streamed. Well, one thing about the hotel that we stayed at, that's one of the best things about the hotel. They had great Wi-Fi, and you didn't need a password to join. It was just you could join, and it was very, very. This is the loft where we stayed outside. There's the mountains of California in the background. Santa Clara is where this was. So that's the outside, and then we have the lobby on the inside. So I was down there last night we were at the Creative Summit. I was down there just finishing up my dinner, and Jen Jager came over, introduced herself, and we had a talk for a few minutes. So now I got new friends from the Creative Summit. Jen Jager is one of my new friends. Like I said, Dylan Bates, I've known him for a year and a half, so he's not a new friend. This is his first time at the Creative Summit, which is really, really cool. So I have these clips from the Creative Summit. I'm going to be releasing a few at a time, and then I'll put a compilation video, like a greatest hits video together a little bit later. And then I have 1.5 terabytes of video from the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. 1.5 terabytes. I probably have more than anybody else. But I also streamed live for over 8 hours from the Creative Summit. I started streaming when I was at the airport where I took off from, and I also streamed from the airport when I left California. So 10 hours reporting from the Creative Summit for everybody watching. That's all for you. Let's see what else we have here. Oh, I forgot about this. One of the people that I met over there at the Creative Summit is Brett from Brett FX. Let's do him now. He has a brand new plugin, Outliner for Final Cut Pro. And if you notice here, it's on sale for $19. It's like 30% off right now. Let's just watch a little. Sorry, turn the audio back on. So this is only $20, Brett FX. I met him at the Creative Summit. It has a free trial, and it's only $20. It's 30% off right now. And I met Brett at the Creative Summit. We hung around a bit, and I already have his plugins. I already have some of his plugins. This one's very cool. So there you go. BrettFX.com, $19.99. You can't beat it. I mean, that's good. That's a good price for a plugin. BrettFX.com. Like I said, I met him at the Creative Summit. We hung around a bit together. All righty. So what else do we have? Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. Here's our friend. Here's our friend, Philip Hodgetts. Clip from him from the Creative Summit. We had an update, Final Cut Pro 10.7.
Yes.
And as usual, no matter what you do, everybody's not going to be happy. I'm happy. I'm very happy with the update.
Well, I'm ecstatic with the update because it did not include text-based editing.
Do you have a favorite feature from 10.7 when they introduced it?
I love the scrolling timeline. I mean, the other things are useful, and any individual editor will use them to one degree or the other. But to me, the scrolling timeline is the one that I will use every day.
100% agree with you. So another person with thumbs up for the scrolling timeline, and we got this comment from Brett FX. I feel kind of trollish now. No, Brett, this plugin is very, very cool. Number one, here's two things you're doing absolutely correct. It's a very cool plugin. You're putting it on sale for $19. Come on. $19, and you have a free trial. Thanks, Richard. Just logged in and you're playing my video. Don't even have any coffee yet. Appreciate the shout out. Absolutely. Absolutely. It was great meeting you at the Creative Summit. I don't know if that's the first one you've ever been to, but I don't think we've run into each other before, but it was great meeting you at the Creative Summit. Fantastic. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. It is appreciated. What else do we have? Let's see what else we have. A little video from Hedge from the live stream.
So thank you, Richard. Yeah, today we introduced the next generation of PostLab early access preview, and PostLab gave you before the idea of library locking, versioning, and an activity log. But now, in this version of PostLab, not only do you get those for Final Cut Pro, you get those for any creative app under the sun. So
I saw that.
Yeah.
Notes and pages.
Pages, Blender, Unity. You add it to PostLab and you're going to get versioning, locking, activity logging. But then we took it to the next level, particularly for the Final Cut Pro community, and now you get event locking.
That's amazing. When you said that, I was amazed that you guys have done that.
Super excited about that possibility.
Is there a new pricing model?
Currently, no, but
okay.
when those numbers are out, we will definitely.
Okay.
That's
why I didn't want to say anything. I wasn't sure.
So we got a demo of the new PostLab, and the reason I mentioned a new pricing model because something was mentioned at the demo that I wasn't sure if it was public. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. Very, very cool. So yeah, I wasn't sure what I could talk about, what I couldn't talk about, so I tried to lead them on and let them do the talking, because once again, Hedge was a sponsor for me to get to the Creative Summit. It's a couple $1,000 investment to get there. For most people, you got to take off work, you got to pay for your hotel, you got to get airfare, you got to pay for food while you're there, and you got to buy the ticket for the Creative Summit. So it can be a couple $1,000. Having sponsorships from people is important. When I go to NAB in April, I'm planning on it right now. I'll be looking for sponsors for that as well. Different set of sponsors. NAB and the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit, different set of sponsors, because as you know, NAB is everything, all kinds of vendors and stuff. Final Cut Pro Creative Summit is Final Cut Pro specific. But let me just say once again, shout out to FMC, to Ben, the CEO or the owner of FMC. I'm sure this event would not happen without FMC and Apple. The Final Cut Pro team, fantastic, not only for the presentation, we got an exclusive presentation from the Final Cut Pro team. They demoed Logic. I think that's the first time I've seen the Final Cut Pro team demo Logic. Thank you for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. We got 18 thumbs up already. Fantastic. We went on for an hour. So the Final Cut Pro team did a phenomenal job at the at Apple Campus. We got to Apple Campus. Now, they didn't want us to take pictures and stuff, but I did get permission to take one picture. Let's look at that. This one I took inside Apple Campus in the room where the demo of Final Cut Pro 10.7 was. The two Bill Davises. So I've known Bill Davis on the right for a long time, and then Bill Davis on the left is the head of the Final Cut Pro team. This is the room where we got the demo for Final Cut Pro. Before I took the picture, I said, can I get a picture of both Bill Davises in the same place at the same time? Because I've made a joke over the years. I've never seen you guys at the same place at the same time. Bill Davis from the Final Cut Pro team says, yes, go ahead. So that's that picture. What else do we have here? So here's an interesting, let me show you well, 10.7, what's that? This is a little bit premature. This is when you go to report a bug or a feature request in the Final Cut Pro help section. They already have Final Cut Pro 10.7 listed. They already have Final Cut Pro 10.7 listed. So it's coming anytime. So, what do you think? Who's excited about 10.7? Anybody? Am I the only one that's excited? I'm not. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It's appreciated. We got 18 thumbs up this morning. That's fantastic. That's fantastic. And don't forget to hit the subscribe button and all that. It's excellent. It is very, very cool. Can you explain what bin locking does for Hedge? I cannot. I don't use that PostLab. It's probably similar to, well, here's what I do know. It allows collaboration between events, and you can lock a bin so it can't be edited. If you have two people locked into the same library, the same event, if you lock it, they can't edit. You can read it, write it, look at it, but they can't edit it. But anyway, I don't use that, so I can't speak whatever. And Ernest White says yes, he's excited for Final Cut Pro 10.7. That's what he said. Let's go. Let's go look at the backyard real quick. I had to go get a drink. My throat's a little bit scratchy, so I figured I'd put the backyard on for you while I went to get my drink. So that's interesting. Very excited about scrolling timeline. Higher up on my list than yours. It can't be higher up. I'm mine number one. But number one for a long time. I'm excited for Final Cut Pro 10.7. Yeah, I've had concerts over here. I've had some had bands over here. Thinking about getting the Universal Quick Release Mobile Cage MC29. It's easy to move phone from Cage. I agree, but the issue is, let me just show you this once more. The problem is, not the problem, I have that Cage. I've had it for years. The problem is, not the issue, not the problem, but this has M-moment mount lenses built into the Cage. So in order to use those lenses, you have to have, the phone has to go in and be rigid. It can't be flexible. So the reason I got this Cage, moment lenses, quick release handle, it just snaps in, and the button, which is, where's the button go? I have it here somewhere. Here's the button. The Bluetooth button at the top to start and stop recording. Those three things made me buy this cage. I got it for a good price on Amazon. It also has this to snap open. So the main thing is the Moment lenses. I said, let me get this cage that has the Moment lenses, the M series. You can get a different back plate for the T series and some other lenses, but I have the M series already, so that's the reason I got this. The other cages don't have the Moment lenses. It's like one of those cat videos on YouTube. We foster cats, and I would literally watch stuff like that. We foster cats too. We didn't discuss that when you were at the Creative Summit. We've been fostering cats for years. For years. So I do a lot of animal welfare stuff. And we specialize in cats around here. With Universal Quick Release mobile phone cage, you can still attach external lenses. Yeah, but it's not as, this is very specific. You lock the phone in, click the lens on, just like buying a Moment case. I have one of those bigger ones, and it's the reason I got this one, because I can just lock it on. I don't have to worry about adjusting and moving things around and adjusting things with Allen wrenches left and right to get it to line up properly. It just locks in place. Because like I said, I was going to sell my Moment. I have a whole series of M mount lenses that I had for my iPhone 13 and 14, and I'm not buying any more lenses. I'm just not interested. The lenses on the iPhone are fine. If I need anything more sophisticated, I'll pull up my Lumix S5 Mark IIX. I got a series of lenses for those. I'm not buying any more for the iPhone. But since I have the Moment M lenses, I bought this cage, put the phone in, click it on, done. No adjusting left and right and see if it's working and everything. I have that bigger cage. I've had it for a long time. I use that when I'm on a gimbal. I have a big gimbal that I put the iPhone on sometime with the sunshade and a bunch of other things. The gimbal I have works with the iPhone. It also works with my Lumix S5 Mark IIX. It does both. It's a big gimbal, not an iPhone gimbal. So, what else do we have? Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. It is appreciated. Let me see if I missed anything. Definitely want to do this. Now's a good time to back up Final Cut Pro 10.1 or later. Now's a good time, so when the 10.7 comes out, you don't say, it updated by itself with no input from me. Update your Final Cut Pro app. It doesn't hurt it to update it in advance. Does not hurt to update it in advance. Thanks, everybody. Everybody that supported me at the Creative Summit, fantastic. All the viewers, I have the best Final Cut Pro audience, live audience out there. Every one of you is appreciated. And the ones that bought me coffee when I went to Final Cut Pro Creative Summit was fantastic. My sponsors are fantastic. Let me put them up there one more time. Cormelt and Hedge, both of those, I appreciate the sponsorship. FMC as well. FMC as well. Do you have a favorite feature from Final Cut Pro 10.7? A couple people have said scrolling timeline like me. That's by far my favorite feature. I've been waiting for a long time. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We got 19 thumbs up. It's fantastic. 19 thumbs up. Let me just take a picture of this. There's that. Take a picture of this. There's that. Don Stafford says, I make a backup of the new version of Final Cut Pro the day I get it. Been doing it for years. I have backups all the way to 10.0. I have all the backups all the way to 10.0. I have an original MacBook Pro that has Final Cut Pro 7.0.3 and Final Cut Pro 10.0 on it. Because in those days, it ran both. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. It is appreciated. But anyway, I would be surprised if Final Cut Pro didn't come out this coming week, perhaps on Tuesday. I think we'll get Final Cut Pro 10.7 on Tuesday. That's my guess. I'm just thinking, okay, it's ready. Give it to people before Thanksgiving. You're not going to give it to them on Thanksgiving, Thursday, or Friday, Black Friday, or over the weekend. So I'm thinking they might come out Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Tuesday would be the best bet since Tuesday seems to be a real popular day for Final Cut Pro releases. I make jokes about it on Twitter all the time. So I had a great time at the Creative Summit, had met some new friends that I haven't met before, and had a lot of existing friends that we talked to. Serena Catania, we went out for a coffee run. Both of us, Serena and myself, we make coffee in our hotel room, and I like half and half or cream, and there was no place around the hotel to get it. So Serena had her car. We took her car out one night back from the hotel. I said, would you mind making a half and half stop? We went to Target, and we got cream, which is even better. So I was really, really thankful for that. Serena's a good friend of mine. We've been friends for years. Don Stafford says, Larry Jordan in Scrolling Time article says, with comments and screenshots from Apple November the 12th, added illustrations of existing features. Very good. I will check that out as soon as I get off, anything of importance. But we should be getting, look, they have it in the help section. They have Final Cut Pro 10.7. They've already shown it to everybody. They've already announced it in a press release. I see no reason it won't come out this week. I'm getting excited update after update. This is the one, I mean, when I saw, listen, I'm sitting there front row at the Final Cut Pro presentation at Apple Park. Apple Park was phenomenal. It's 1 mile around, 1 mile, it's like a track. It has 3 or 5 story tall curved glass panels. I think it's around the entire building is all glass. The glass gets cleaned every night, they said. It's really? All that glass gets cleaned every night, every day? But I think it's some kind of a secret mechanical software-based cleaning. It's not people out there with squeegees and Windex and paper towels. I know that. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We've got 21 thumbs up. Fantastic. Using Final Cut Pro since 2008 is a hobby. Using professionally since 2014 is still my main choice. I love it. I like it a lot more now. I like it a lot more now that the scrolling timeline's here. As a matter of fact, I'm kind of holding off on doing any big projects. I'm waiting for the scrolling timeline after all these years. Bob says, robots. Well, we didn't see any robots. We didn't see any evidence of how they clean the glass. I don't, it's 1 mile around, Bob. That's a lot of robots to clean, you know. I think that's, it's got to be mechanical or electronic or something. Some kind of robots, glass cleaning robots. All around except those huge doors. Right, they were glass doors though, right? They were glass doors. And my comment when we were doing the tour, they said, have any questions? And I said, does Tim Cook have a button? Does he have a button to open and close those glass doors? And he just messes with people that opens and closes them randomly? I got to get some breakfast. Last question. Can Brandon Lee cage without handles? Can I put the cage in your pants pocket like iPhone with case on it? If you have a big... in your pants pocket, that's a pretty big cage. Yeah, well, you can take that off, and then it's just a little bit bigger than the iPhone itself. So if you have a big cargo pants pocket, you can put this in. But this is a quick release plate I have on the bottom. I use that on everything that I have. But this is a really, really fantastic cage. I really like this. If you have an iPhone, the handle is fantastic. The button to record and stop and record, and the moment lenses, and you can get, like I said, different different back plates for different lenses, but the Moment M series lens comes standard, which is the reason I got it. I don't like cages as much. I shoot them like this, hold steady with one hand and do this with the other hand. And you can do vertical as well. You just do the side. You can shoot vertically as well. Of course, that wouldn't be on there. So it's not a matter of, it goes on all four sides, any of your sides, but this very, very well designed, very well thought out cage. I prefer the gimbal, but I'm going to be using that especially when I shoot with lenses. Brett S. says he means the glass awnings. I've got you. They were giant. Greetings from Italy. Have a wonderful evening, everyone. Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We got 22 thumbs up at this point. It's fantastic. If Final Cut Pro 10.7 comes out, we already know the main features, whatever. I'll do another live stream. I have one or two other live streams planned for like this week or after Thanksgiving. Subscribe to my channel. Found one on Amazon, $80. Can you use just one handle? That's what I got, but it's cheaper than that. It's 67 or something like that. I checked it out today. So this is really good. I think check around, look for a different price. Unless you're out of the United States. I got it for like 67, something like that. It was like a certain amount off. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Subscribe to the channel. When 10.7 comes out, Monday, Tuesday, or Wednesday this week, that's what I'm guessing. I think they're going to put it out before Thanksgiving. My best bet is going to be out on Tuesday. I'll come back on live for half hour, an hour, probably an hour, and we'll just talk about it. I definitely will install it. I've already backed up my current version of Final Cut Pro, which is 10.6.10. I've already backed that up, so no guarantee it's coming out this week, but my guess is it'll come out on Tuesday, 10.7. That's my guess. To get it out before Thanksgiving, maybe not. Maybe they're working out some other issues. And they're going to wait till after Thanksgiving. But I'm thinking they might slip it in before Thanksgiving, 10.7. What do you think? What do you think? Let's see what else. Do we have any other graphics here? Oh, here's one thing. It was kind of shocking. This is the reason that I brought my Lumix S5 Mark II X specifically to the Creative Summit. So the picture on the left is a picture of the room, the way it looked. Actual light. The picture right below me is my Lumix S5 Mark II X, what it recorded, because it's a low light monster. It is really, really good. It is really, really good. So, picture over there on the left is the actual light of the room. That's my iPhone picture of the room. You can't even see the person on the stage hardly, but my Lumix S5 Mark II X, you can see how much low light performer it is. So this is the reason that I brought the Lumix S5 Mark II X is for these classrooms. All the classrooms weren't that dark, but some of them were. I'm not sure who made the decision on leaving the lights up or bringing the lights down, but some of them were. Any other questions? Thank you very much for the thumbs up. We got 22 thumbs up this morning. That's fantastic. Do I have any more? I don't know if I have any more videos. I don't think I do. Let's just check the backyard one more time. There we go. I got my drink. So I got leaves to pick up this week. You can't really tell, but when we do the leaf pickup, it's literally a couple of feet deep. It'll go up to past your knees, up close to your waist when you start pushing them together in piles. Some people here in Italy think I'm a fool to believe that Final Cut has a future, but I don't care about what I was thinking. Well, let me tell you something that the Final Cut Pro team said. So they did a Q&A on Wednesday, the last day. They said, anybody have any questions? Initially, everybody's kind of like, oh, I don't want to ask any question. So I said, I'll ask the first question. So I got the microphone. I went up the aisle so the Final Cut Pro team could see me. And the question that I asked is, I said, there's millions of Final Cut Pro users out there, and I see this question asked over and over again. Is Final Cut Pro going the way of Aperture? Is Final Cut Pro going the way of Aperture? First, I thanked them for the scrolling timeline. I said, whoever's responsible for the scrolling timeline, thank you very much. Then I said, this is not my question. This is people that I see. Is Final Cut Pro going to go the way of Aperture? In other words, be discontinued? Categorically, emphatically, no. No. Final Cut Pro has a 6-month roadmap and a 5-year, 6-year roadmap. It is not going anywhere. It absolutely has a future. Final Cut Pro 10.7 is the beginning of the Final Cut Pro 10.7 era of Final Cut Pro. I expect more features, plenty of features. They said that they update Final Cut Pro according to their agenda, according to what they think is the right time to release things. I expect some more cool features to be coming in 10.7, 10.7.1, 0.2, 0.3, 0.4, whatever. This is the beginning of the Final Cut Pro 10.7 era. Not the middle, not the end. This is the beginning. They have a roadmap for Final Cut Pro, they say, for the next 5 or 6 years. Okay, there you go. It's not going anywhere. Final Cut Pro is not going anywhere. They already have a roadmap for quite a while. The Final Cut Pro team was fantastic. The people at Apple Park were fantastic. I want to give big accolades to everybody involved at Apple. They did a great job. Thank you for updating it for us or for yourselves, whatever you want to call it. The people at Apple Park were fantastic. We got nice tours and stuff around there, around the park. But the team was great. They showed the iPad, Final Cut for iPad. Bill Davis demonstrated Final Cut Pro. Somebody demonstrated Logic Pro. The updates to Logic Pro and things. So it was a great experience, Final Cut Pro Creative Summit. If you possibly can do it next year, if they have it again in person, highly, highly recommended. When will Hollywood really start to embrace and use Final Cut Pro for major movies? Well, we've already had half a dozen or a dozen major movies done in Final Cut Pro. I don't care if Hollywood embraces Final Cut Pro. I don't use Final Cut Pro because I'm expecting Hollywood to embrace it. I don't care. I don't care about Hollywood. If there's features of Final Cut Pro that Hollywood needs for Final Cut Pro, if the team thinks they can do it, dupe detection was a big one. They brought it in. It benefits everybody downstream from Hollywood. But Final Cut Pro supporting Hollywood is not a top priority for me. It's part of the agenda, but other things are part of the agenda as well. So iJustine has over 1 billion views on her YouTube channel. She's not part of Hollywood. 1 billion views on YouTube. So Hollywood's just one of the tiers that Final Cut Pro is looking at. Not the only tier, not the only number one bullseye. It's not there. But we've already seen it can be done. You've already seen it can be done. There's a lot of reasons that it hasn't made that much of an inroad because Avid has a stranglehold. And it's not Avid the NLE, it's Avid the infrastructure, the servers. They do a great job with project sharing and stuff, the collaboration. Will we see that in Final Cut Pro? Perhaps. Some form of collaboration. No matter what the team does, they could add 100 brand new features and people still wouldn't be satisfied. Some people. My expectations for Final Cut Pro have been raised from a low version, I would say to mid-level, maybe a little bit higher at this point, cautiously. That doesn't mean we're going to let the pressure off the Final Cut Pro team to give us more features as soon as possible, because we're all going to keep on doing that, and I wouldn't want us to stop. But I am ecstatic that we got a scrolling timeline and there's other features that they named. I'm really excited that they saved it for the Final Cut Pro Summit people who took time off work, who spent, in some cases, thousands of dollars to be there, and they gave us exclusive first showing of Final Cut Pro 10.7. Everybody's excited about it. I mean, not everybody. Everybody that is at the Creative Summit, for the most part, is excited about it. When I saw the scrolling timeline icon, I couldn't believe it. It's like I'm in a different dimension after all these years of not having one. Now I'm waiting for it. I want them to put it out so I can start new projects with a scrolling timeline. For example, all the footage I have from the Creative Summit, I shot on my iPhone 15 Pro. Some of it's Apple ProLog. Some of it's just regular H.264, H.265. I shot on my Lumix S5 Mark II X, 6K open gate, which means if I shoot 6K open gate, which I did, and I put that on a 1080p timeline and don't fit it, I can zoom in very, very close when the stage is further away, which is what I did. And the low light performance of that Lumix is fantastic. All right, I'm going to get out of here for today. I will be back whenever 10.7 is released. I'll be back within an hour or two. We'll talk about it. We will talk about it. Thank each and every one of you. I appreciate you coming here on Saturdays to see things going on. Simeon says he can't wait for 10.7. I can't either. I just want to start. I'm going to start the Final Cut Pro Creative Summit 2023 documentary. I've already put out short clips. I'm going to assemble a short video with more than just the short clips, but I'm kind of waiting for the scrolling timeline. I want to try it out. But back up your version of Final Cut. Thanks to each and every one of you for tuning in. Final Cut TV and Coffee. Final Cut TV and Coffee every Saturday morning at 10 o'clock. I will be back when 10.7 is announced live. All right, everyone. Thanks you for tuning in. Thanks to my sponsors, Cormeld and Hedge, Future Media Conferences. Thanks to all the people who bought me a coffee on buymeacoffee.com for the Creative Summit. I had a blast. I broadcast over 8 hours from my hotel room. I broadcast from the airport. I had a blast reporting. All right, everyone. I will talk to you, hopefully, next Saturday, but if 10.7 drops on Tuesday or Monday or Wednesday, I'll be back and we'll talk about it. Talk to everybody later. Thanks for tuning in.